I would like to share with you something that's been rattling around within me as it pertains to left brain, right brain, and spiritual formation. And to do that, I'm going to use my trusty iPad again. So enjoy. This is going to be an impressive drawing of the human brain. Ready? There we go. Let's center this thing up a little bit. Boom. And let's draw a line right through. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the left brain and the right brain. Okay. Now, many people have this understanding that we have two halves of our psyche, the way that we process, the way that we think. This is a theory that some people have debated, but for our purposes, we're going to roll with it. Okay. Let's begin by just talking about what's called the left brain. So the left side of your brain, modern psychology and neuroscience, they like to talk about how each half of the brain has different functioning. We all know that we have coordination and other things, but what about processing? What about expression? What parts of the brain light up when we do these things? And at least conceptually or something else, let's just chat through some of it, okay? The left brain is the side of our brain that it tends to be more, I want to say logical, but let's use this phrase either or thinking, okay? And either or thinking is what allows us to be able to do logic. Because if it's this, then it can't be that, you know? So A does not equal B. It's like, well, are we looking for this or for that? So actually the left side of the brain also tends to do all or nothing thinking. We can put that. All or nothing thinking. This side of the brain is also known for math, science. So let's do 1 + 1 = 2. So that type of rationality, that's often attributed to the left side of our brain. And if we want to take that over into the realm of spiritual formation, we could say our left side of our brain loves theologic. Okay? How can we think rationally about God? How can we bring either or thinking to how we think about God? What can we say about God, all or nothing? Is there a math to God? Is there a science of going about talking about God? This is all activating the left side of our brains. On the other side, though, let's change color. Let's use orange for now. The right side of our brain does something different. Instead of either or thinking, it's capable of doing this. Both and thinking. And this side of our brain, it's not so much focused on logic as it is capable of handling paradox. And so rather than falling into either or thinking, the right side of the brain tends to be more able to say it's both. Okay, so what's an example? Well, the left side of our brain might ask, is this shape a triangle or a circle? And that's a hard either or, right? However, right side of our brains might be capable of doing some creative thinking outside of the box and say, oh, what if it's a cone? Because a cone can be both a triangle and a circle at the same time. And so creativity tends to happen a bit more on the right side. Let's also put that down. Creativity. Now, that naturally means art. Okay, let's draw a little person. This is like a right? That would make Van Gogh weep for how beautiful it is. Art, we could also say music. All of these things that have to do with expression. Now, the right side of the brain is not interested by theologic. It tends to like this. Theo, let's put poetics. Actually, let's just leave it theopoetic. There we go. So the right side of the brain doesn't ask those questions of logic. It's actually more comfortable with symbol. It's more comfortable with metaphor and pictures to explain things, right? Like a painting can explain grief, but it's not trying to use logic to explain grief. It's using expression through art to communicate something that's not capable of being worded, right? Okay. But then how does all of this relate to spirituality? Well, somewhere around the year 1100, the church in the West rediscovered Aristotle. And so Aristotle rose to the top. In some sense, it's because there was a Muslim commentator that repopularized Aristotelian thought. And the church did the same thing, but it did it with Thomas Aquinas, who is said by G.K. Chesterton to have baptized the thinking of Aristotle. But what that meant is the church became so focused on precise, logical language, which actually borrowed heavily from Aristotle, and tended to put to the side poetry, expression, icons, or iconography. And what this ended up doing was starting to raise the value of theologic over theopoetics or theoaesthetics. And really that kind of continued into the 16th century with the Reformation, but then it really also hit a high emphasis as a result of the Enlightenment, which focused on human rationality and what we can comprehend, and focused on giving explanations to the world rather than sitting in the mystery of the world. And the church has followed suit. And so in the West, it's easy to say that we maybe do overemphasize the left brain functioning over the right brain functioning. And that's a problem. So for spiritual formation, what does that mean? Let's use purple. Healthy spirituality reunites the two halves. That these two sides have equal place. They both belong. And so a healthy spirituality is not one that emphasizes just left brain or just emphasizes right brain. It actually has to learn to do both. And it either needs to be a balance or at least a healthy rhythm of going back and forth and activating both sides of what it means to be a human with a brain, you know? Now, why is this important? Because let's use red. The more that we separate the right brain and the left brain from each other, the more fragmented we will be. In etymological roots, the word diabolical probably comes from two words, dia and bolos, meaning two sticks. So when you take a stick and you snap it in half and you throw them apart from each other, that's diabolical. You're taking something and you're schisming it and you're throwing it apart. And so this whole endeavor that shuts down the right brain and only uses the left is diabolical. The part of us that wants to shut down the left brain, did I say that one? And then use only the right, that's diabolical because it's separating rather than bringing together. So what's the other word other than diabolical? Let's use this one. Here we go. This is a Greek word. Here we go. holos. Now, holos is the Greek word that we get which is where we get holy and also whole. So this word is interesting, at least phonetically, because it actually means whole, but there's some play in there because for us, the word holy and whole, they have roots in how they sound. Now, it's true that in the New Testament, there's a word hagios, which is the more literal definition of holy, which probably has deeper roots to the Hebrew word kadosh, which is the Hebrew word for holy. But we have to recognize that at least in the West, there's some dynamism, there's some connection between being holy and being made whole. And so for me, as I think about brain functioning and spiritual formation, in order for us to be holy, we have to be made whole, which means we need to start reuniting the left side of our brain with the right side of our brain and recognize that our spiritual formation can't be fragmented. It can't be diabolical. It can't be something that separates one part of us from another. It has to integrate these things together. So as you go about your own spiritual formation, see what ways you love doing right brain thinking, maybe more than left, or left more than right, and recognize, like, I need to have a healthy vitamin dose of this other side. I don't enjoy it. Maybe it doesn't come easy for me to think systematically about God, but there's a place for that. And maybe for some of us, there's a part of us that just does not know what to do with poetry like St. John of the Cross. Well, in order to have a well-rounded, integrated, healthy, and whole spirituality, you need to learn how to integrate the aesthetic nature of some of the contributions of the Christian tradition. Yeah. So what I hope is this at least gave you some things to think about. And I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that if you have done neuroscience or know more about the brain, I hope that this at least didn't fall tragically short and didn't insult your whole field. I actually really respect neuroscience and what the brain is capable of, and how we really do need to bring in the best of those insights into this task called spiritual formation. Okay? So thank you for watching. Have a great day. Grace and peace.